What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the episode 2 recap of Big Brother Canada Season 2. The episode opens up with highlights from the HOH competition and some diary room sessions. Andrew was talking about how him being the first guy off doesn't bode well for him. Sarah is wondering if she can trust Paul, and Paul lets us know that he's here to play and he didn't quit his job and leave his family for nothing. We then cut to Andrew talking with a Jamaican accent. Ika was getting a bit frustrated with Andrew, and Sarah mentions that Andrew probably had too much to drink last night. He's one of those loud, aggressive drunks. You know what I'm talking about. The attention is now on Nick. And Nick is in the bedroom doing her thing, and honestly, as much as I don't like Kyle, he was actually pretty funny in this episode. He basically said Nick was acting like that chick who's on crack at a rave party. Nicely put. It's time to check out Paul's HOH room. Come talk to me, man. I love Paul's accent. Paul is chilling in his HOH room and he has some house guests come in one by one, and he basically questions each of them. This is all at the tune of some Italian mob type music. Paul is just loving the fact that he can ask anyone anything and they will do it. Oh, Paul, you're walking a fine line and Ika is definitely catching on. As Ika puts it, he's like a hooker working on Yonge Street. It's nomination time. Paul has nominated Andrew and Nick. I'm not sure if Big Brother was pressed for time, but they didn't show Paul's reason to putting Andrew and Nick on the block. Or maybe he didn't say anything, but that's unlikely. If I were Paul, I probably would have said, Andrew, you were the first guy to come off the block in the HOH competition, and you were also a crazy drunk last night. And Nick, you're weird, and you're forcing your voodoo shit on us. The POV competition is next. The house guests playing are Paul, Andrew, and Nick, Kyle, Sabrina, and Adele. The house guests get dressed up as superheroes and head to the backyard. Each house guest will find 3 different barriers that they must go through using 2 different tools. They have to get through each barrier, smash through the glass, and hit the button. The first barrier was a door that was bolted down, which then house guests had to use a wrench to take off the bolts. And again, as Kyle put it, the bolts were so tight like a nun's panties. Nothing was getting in there. Andrew basically dominated as everyone else didn't know how to use a wrench or pliers. With Andrew winning the POV, he of course took himself off the block, and Paul put up Ika because when Nick did a group session to get some love flowing in the house, Ika wouldn't participate and she just left the group, so it didn't sit well with Paul. Before Nick or Ika gets voted out, IRISA lets the house guests know what they are playing for, which is $100,000 cash, a $25,000 shopping spree at the Brick, and a trip of the lifetime to anywhere in the world. Nick's speech was mainly about continuing the flow of love in the house, but boy, when Ika went up and she said, "You're all fabulous, but not quite Ika-fied." And then the camera looked right at Rochelle, and she basically had a death stare. It was awesome. Kyle, with his shirt 3/4 unbuttoned, voted for Nick, along with Heather, Andrew, Arlie, John, Kenny, Sarah, Nick, Netta, Rochelle, and Adele. If you can do some quick math there, well, Nick got voted out 11-0. Ouch. When Andrew, Arlie, Sarah, and Sabrina were voting, they did this 1-5 gesture, which of course some of us don't know what it means, but if you have been reading up on some of the spoilers, you would know that, spoiler alert, the first 5 have made an alliance. What was odd though was Kenny didn't do the 1-5, and he's part of the alliance. When IRISA interviewed Nick basically said she didn't listen to her own advice, which was not to be herself in the house. Yeah, that didn't go down so well. When IRISA asked who she thought would win, she picked Kenny. We are nearing the end of the episode, but there's still one more important thing to talk about. The 3 house guests who are involved in the Twistos twist. IRISA says that they have been cut off from the outside world for a few weeks now, and she breaks the news to the 3 potential house guests. They will be living together in one room. The other house guests won't know they exist, but the 3 potential house guests will be able to see the other house guests, but they can't hear them. Potential house guests are excited and pretty happy until IRISA tells them that only one of them are going in. And then you could hear the tumbleweed go across the stage. In what seemed like an interesting moment, Big Brother Canada had to ruin it with some Canadian Secret Service guys to bring the 3 potential house guests into the house. Are you kidding me right now? It was so lame. The potential house guests get blindfolded, so obviously they can't see anything, and it was the saddest, most uncomfortable moment seeing the Secret Service guys trying to guide the blind house guests. Anyway, after the commercial break, we see the Secret Service guys guide the 3 potential house guests into the secret room. The house guests are then instructed to take off their blindfolds, and that basically sums up the end of episode 2. I hope you enjoyed my recap of episode 2. If you did, you know the drill. Click the thumbs up below. If you want to add your 2 cents, please comment below. I will always reply. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe. I'll have your next recap on Sunday night after episode 3. Until then, enjoy the live feeds.